Hello and welcome to today's news analysis. We are doing the Indian Express papers Chandigarh edition. So first of all, we'll be talking about the BRICS. Then Chandrayaan is there in the news. In fact, there is an explainer which tells us about how the landing will take place. Then we have news concerning human trafficking. Actually, there is some people who were trapped in Libya, so they have been released. So we'll build up on the human trafficking. I'll be sharing with you Ministry of External Affairs website where they tell us about what steps they are taking to deal with the issue of international human trafficking. Now the next topic is hydroponics. It is farming without the help of soil. I think this topic is important from the point of view of agriculture as well as science and tech. Irrespective, both come under GS3. So I have given the screenshot of this article with notes on my Telegram channel as well. So this you must prepare. Holistically, a lot of information is provided in this article itself. What is hydroponics? Why it is in news? Plus the benefits of the recent developments in hydroponics. Okay, something about ITR filings has been their record increase. So I'll be sharing with you the idea of tax base and what is the government doing to widen the tax base, that is bringing in more people under the ambit of tax collection. Then very interesting, there is a statement by the speaker of the Lok Sabha, where he is talking about the introduction of something known as One Nation, One Legislative Platform. So we should discuss it in light of the topic of effectiveness of the Indian Parliament. From the editorial and opinion section, I am discussing the issue of J&K drugs and the holes in financial safety net. So that I am picking up. Now here again, there are certain topics that I have not picked up. The most notable was there is an opinion on digital data protection bill. So this we have done number of times. So today I'm not covering it. And the other one was the bill concerning the National Science Foundation. So that again I am not doing. We have covered it a lot. So maybe some other time we will do it. Holes in financial safety net seems more important actually. It will come under GS2. It is about the issues concerning the global financial safety system, particularly the International Monetary Fund. It's a very important topic. It's a direct theme, directly part of your syllabus. From international, we have a lot of news overview we'll take, and there was one on how the slaves lived in the ancient city of Pompeii. This is in Rome. Then from economy section, we have something about liberalized remittances scheme. So more outward remittances have gone from India. So briefly, we will have a look at it. Now coming to the front page. So first of all, we have this reissue, IDs lost due to violence. Okay. So there is a Supreme Court panel that is being formed, comprising of some retired judges, to look into the issue of Manipur. So panel is formed and they are saying those people who have lost ID cards, they should be given the compensation. People who have suffered, they should be given more compensation. And besides this, there should be appointment of domain experts to facilitate this work. That's all. Okay. Chandrayaan 2 orbiter contacts moon lander. Okay. So we have 3 Chandrayaans actually. So Chandrayaan 1 was there, which was orbiting the moon. It took photographs of the moon and gave us some evidence about water being there on the moon. Chandrayaan 2 was supposed to have a lander. So there was a satellite that was to orbit around the moon and it was to release a lander. So it was a 2-step process. Two missions were there. This lander was known as Vikram, which did not land. It crash landed and it failed, like what happened with Russia recently. So now we have Chandrayaan 3, whose main focus is to have a soft landing of the Vikram lander. Right? Same thing is being done now via Chandrayaan 3. Okay, so this or the satellite that is orbiting got into contact with the lander of Chandrayaan 3. Next, we come to BRICS. So the BRICS summit is going to take place, and BRICS comprises of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Now, everybody's eyes are on the meeting between the head of two states, that is Indian Prime Minister PM Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping. So this is a good opportunity for these two leaders to meet, especially in light of the border standoff, the tensions that both countries have. So that may be solved, or maybe some progress may take place. So that is why it is important. Okay. Now obviously you should have an analysis on the BRICS. It's very easily available on the UPSC websites. I'll just tell you some important things. So this BRICS summit, present one that is taking place, it is taking place in South Africa, Johannesburg. So PM is in Johannesburg right now. Okay. Now, besides this, there are certain developments in BRICS, which can be asked in exams. So one very important is the Fortaleza Agreement. Fortaleza is a city in Brazil. So Fortaleza Agreement, an agreement which took place in the city of Fortaleza. So this took place in 2014, and in this, the BRICS countries decided to form a bank known as the New Development Bank. This was to be synonymous with the World Bank. It is felt that World Bank and the IMF and other global institutions are not able to address the needs of the global south, the less developed economies or the emerging economies. So an alternative is being created in the form of NDB, which is synonymous with the World Bank. It will provide loans for developmental activities. And synonymous with IMF, which looks into the monetary issues, the macroeconomic stability of the countries, there is Contingency Reserve Agreement, CRA. So these two have been created via the Fortaleza Agreement. Besides about BRICS came in sometime in 2008. It was BRIC, then it became BRICS with the entry of South Africa. Overall, the BRICS is very important. It is seen to have 41% of the global population, just the BRICS countries, 24% of the global GDP. So it's a very, very important. And BRICS is also seen as the voice of the global south, especially when it comes to international fora platforms like UN, etc., UN, WTO, etc. So BRICS is seen as the voice of the global south. In fact, India itself is seen as the leader of the global south. Okay. Next, we have the news concerning the export duty on onions. So after excess rain and fall in prices, onion farmers hit by export duty threaten stir. This is in Maharashtra. So there is an expectation that in times to come, there will be shortage of onions, like it has happened with tomato. So what the government is saying is that you keep the onions reserved for the Indian markets. If you want to sell it abroad, you will have to pay extra tax. That tax is known as the export duty. So it is a way of the government to secure the onions for the domestic market. It is incentivizing the farmers to keep it for domestic market. Obviously, it is keeping in mind the interest of the consumers, and so that inflation is not there, especially with onion price. We are very sensitive to onion, tomatoes, etc. Now, obviously, it is affecting the interest of the farmers. They are not able to get access to the global markets. Their incomes will naturally get affected. And furthermore, with excess rain and fall in, the rains have affected the quality of the onions. The farming has been affected. So it is like a double blow to the farmers. So they are threatening a stir. Okay. Now here, I think I just want to say, now what export duty is. So here, what we see an issue over here, I'd like to bring out the issue is that the government has to decide between the interest of the two, the farmer or the interest of the consumer. So if they look into the interest of the farmer, then the prices go increase. The farmer will like to have increased prices so that more revenue, more income comes to the farmer. But if that is done, it leads to more inflation and the consumers are affected. And typically we see that the government tends to take the sides of the consumer interest. Now this seems to be antithetical, opposite to the government saying that they want to double the farming income, double the farmers' income. Now here I would like to draw your attention to the issue of agri GDP or the plight of the farmers. So if you look at the GDP, I'm referring to the PIB, just this part. If you look at the nominal GDP which caters to the inflation also, it was 15.4% in fiscal year 22-23. And in real terms, it was 7%. When we look at the agri GDP, it is only 3.55% in 22-23, and it may grow to 4.1%. So you see the disparity. Let's say 15% nominal GDP, or even if we take into account 7% of real GDP over here, the agri GDP is nowhere near this GDP. So there is a big gulf over here. So the farmers are not growing at that pace. It is not inclusive growth. So this is an issue. Now we just skip this part over here. Okay. Okay, this article I wanted to draw your attention to. How an incubation center in government college is giving wings to women entrepreneurs. I think I have shared a link with you also on my Telegram. So the basic thing was that government college is having some place where the students are being encouraged to open startups. Now we should think about what is the government doing to promote the startups in the country, right? Obviously, from exam point of view, we should think. So this is the PIB. More than 92,000 entities recognized as startups since the launch of Startup India. And it tells us about various schemes. Startup India Action Plan, the Fund of Funds for Startups scheme, Credit Guarantee Scheme for Startups, the Mudra Yojana, Mudra is I think not mentioned here, the creation of SIDBI. So a lot of things are there mentioned. You should keep a note. We can be asked a mains-based question on the startups. For pre also, you should know the schemes that are there, plus the ministry concerned. So ministry is Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Punjab and Haryana High Court Bar Council marks 100 years of Ambedkar's legal practice. Fine, very good. So 100 years of legal practice. He started his practice in 1923. So 1923 to 2023. Now, if we talk about Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, we should know about some of his achievements, some of the things, some facts. A question has been asked about the comparison of the ideologies or thoughts between Ambedkar and Gandhi. So that has been asked. Now let us look at some of the things Ambedkar is associated with. So he set up Bahishkrit Hitkarni Sabha, right? So he started this. He attended all the 3 roundtable conferences. He was part of the famous Pune Pact between Gandhi and Ambedkar. He founded the Independent Labour Party in 36. He wrote a work which talked about annihilation of the caste. He was the chairperson of the drafting committee of the constitution. Right, so a lot of things are there. So you can easily find them, right? So I'm referring to Drishti at the moment. So it's very easy to find. But you should know some of the initiatives that Ambedkar had taken. Now here is an article. I was sold in Dubai. He used to beat me up, sold me off to another man in Libya. Now this is an example of human trafficking at international level. So what is the government doing with reference to human trafficking, especially when it comes to foreign countries? So first of all, with reference to human trafficking, we should think, is there an international convention that deals with this? So we have the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. So this looks into the issue of human trafficking. So there is something known as the Protocol for Human Trafficking. And largely the convention is the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime. So human trafficking is one of the organized crimes. So this is with international cooperation support is required because it is international in nature. Now, these are the measures India has taken to deal with human trafficking. Right? You can read it at your own speed. I have a video also on human trafficking, so if you wish, you can refer to that as well. So 12 minutes, but entire topic is covered. Yeah, ahead of protest for flood relief package today. Okay. Why I'm discussing is, we saw now 2-3 issues where farmer issue is taking place, farmer protest is taking place. Imagine this is a area your tolls, highways are blocked. You are the DC of a particular place, and you have been told to resolve this issue. Yes, I'm talking about ethics case study. So these are typical topics which UPSC picks up for case study. Imagine of yourself as a civil servant, as a DC or an SSP, and how you deal with such a situation, that the problem solves peacefully, right? What arrangements should be done, what steps should be taken, so keeping in account all the issues, the farmers' right to protest plus people's right to commute to stability. So all those things, that these are the skills that are required of you. Okay, now we are talking about hydroponics, which is part, which you can see, take it as GS3, be it science and tech or be it agriculture. Now, hydroponics, as the name goes, it is about farming without the help of soil. You can get the definition, right? So you have to write a definition, prepare a note where you define hydroponics. Tell us about the advantages. Here, advantages are mentioned. So you have to do it. So hydroponics is simply farming without soil. Now there are two methods of hydroponics that exist. So one is substrate hydroponics, that is farming in a soilless medium. So some hard surface substrate on which the plants are done, planting is done. For example, tomatoes. The other is water culture, where water culture in which utilizes shallow water ponds for cultivating leafy vegetables with shallow root system. So with shallow root system, water culture, otherwise with strong extensive root system, substrate hydroponics is used. Now the Punjab Agricultural University, the PAU, has developed hybrid hydroponics technology, HHT, which is a mixture of, which is a hybrid version of the two forms of hydroponics available. So they have filed for a patent. This is based on, it is a gravity based water and nutrient recovery system. There is a 12 by 12 inch pot which is being used. I really don't understand, just these words have to be there, right? It's a mixture of these two techniques. Now, the use of HHT, or let's say use of hydroponics, is of great potential. It can be used for urban vertical gardening. So on your walls, etc., farming can be done. So since soil is not needed, it can grow on the walls. So vertically it can grow. It may have large scale commercial applications. Right? Farming without soil, anywhere you can farm, so that can boost the production, the productivity. Then we have the bad soils, the infertile farmlands are there. So there are so much of bad lands that are there, because obviously bad lands means the soil erosion has taken place or your soil is not unfit for farming. So in those areas can be utilized for farming activities. So we can bring in more land under cultivation using hydroponics. So this is good for food security as well. And besides, this is a all new sector. We can call it a sunrise sector. which will provide opportunities for rural as well as urban youth. Right. So you see, you get everything over here. Hydroponics, a brief description of the things that are there. You can mention hydroponics. You can mention substrat hydroponics, water culture. These are things that actually add value to your answers. And then you state the initiatives. So this is very easily answer for your 150 word question. I mean, 150 word answer for your question on 10-mark question. Must prepare this. That's why I'm focusing on this topic. Rapid increase in IT income tax returns filed shows people's trust in government, says Prime Minister Modi. Fine. Actually, I know this ITR filing is more, and in ITR, you file ITR, then you pay the income tax, right? Okay. So this is more so because the government has been able to use the new age technologies. Because and with the integration of PAN and Aadhaar card, the government has much greater information about your spending activities, earning activities, plus your UPIs, UPI payment, cashless payment. The government has much more data, and it is now getting difficult to evade taxes, especially for a common man. Rich find means to do it anyhow, but for the common man, it is becoming all the more difficult. So it is actually the fear of punishment, the fear of getting caught and paying stringent fines, that there is more filing taking place. Now I want to draw your attention to the main theme, that is measures to widen tax base. Now, before doing this, I want to talk about definitions also. So one is tax base. Tax base is, you can have tax rate also. So tax rate is the rate of income tax, GST, etc. Tax base is number of people who are filing taxes. So there is a common grudge among the salaried people that they are the ones who are paying taxes, the business class, etc., are evading taxes. So the idea should be that bringing in more and more people under the ambit of taxes. In fact, agriculture is not part of the tax base. So what I'm trying to say, farmers are not part, so agricultural income. So even that, to bringing in that also would be a step towards tax base. Then there is tax buoyancy, buoyancy, buoyancy. So that is with increase in GDP, increase in nation's income, the taxes should also going up in the same proportion. Right? Imagine floating, if something is there in the water, if you add more water, the height of that thing which is floating will also increase in that same proportion. So that is buoyancy. Anything floating is buoyancy. So with the increase in GDP, the proportionate increase in taxes should also take place. If that does not take place, we will say that it is not a buoyant system. Okay, so these definitions you must have, going by the GS3 mains questions. These definition type questions are being asked. Then obviously a tail could be that what steps are being taken to widen the tax base. And for this, I visited the income tax website actually. Yeah. So this is the website. I can share the PDF on the Telegram. So here the government is mentioning faceless assessment system, e-filing portal is bad. I tried myself. I was not able to do it. I had to do privately from some other AI platform. So faceless assessment system, e-filing portal, then the annual information statement, AIS. So they have made it easier for filing income tax return. So I think you can put it this way: ease of filing of income tax returns, and then you can mention all these schemes. Then you can talk about the PAN and Aadhaar, right? Like that, you can build on this topic. Then you can say the use of technology and artificial intelligence like Sugam, etc. And so that is there, which has, you can say that these artificial intelligence has helped in aggregating information from various sources and ensuring that wrongful evasion does not take place. Evasion is also always wrongful. So tax avoidance does not take place. Okay, so 3-4 steps I've mentioned over here, so that you can do. And one important fact. When we talk about tax how much tax is collected, you must know it is right now, it is at 16.6%. Loosely, when I'm taking a class, I would say 17% of the GDP. That's also fine. Now, as a reference point, OECD countries, the developed countries, there is a grouping known as OECD. They are at somewhere around 25 to 40%, 50% also. So, for 25 or 40% of your income may be going towards the tax. So, we are a bit far away from this. So, this is indicative of something not right with the economy. Right. So for this, we need to widen the tax base. There are two ways of increasing the tax collection. So one is increase the tax rate and other is the widening of the tax base. In reference to this, you may also study about the Phillips curve. Okay, fine. And it's not Phillips. Okay. Moving on, next one is One Nation, One Legislative platform. So this is the speaker, right? So he is talking about that we should focus on One Nation, One Legislative platform. So this will help us in every voter. The idea is, the speaker is saying that every voter should have information, information about the legislative activities, more importantly, the conduct of the parliamentarians or their representatives. His focus is more on that side, conduct. He's the speaker, so maybe that's why. Okay. Plus, he's saying that it will help enabling lawmaking process. Now, nothing of lawmaking or participation of the citizen has been mentioned, so that this point we can build. We can say that the bills are introduced in the parliament, so citizens should be made aware. So maybe on a common platform, be it for the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, be it for the state legislative assemblies, so the Vidhan Sabha, Vidhan Parishad, there can be a single platform. So where details of the bills, their analysis, plus if there is any request for opinion of the citizens, public feedback, so all of this can be given on that portal. So that would be a good initiative actually. Now we come to the editorial page. Connect Jammu and Kashmir dots. This is about the issue of drugs. So basically, the Indian Express newspaper did a study and they said that in Jammu and Kashmir, the issue of drugs is increasing, drug addiction. The arrests made are 4 times more than 2019. Sudden increase in drugs, why is it happening? Obvious question that one should think of. 1 in 12, 1 every 12 minutes is reporting at the de-addiction center. So this is increasing. Why is it so? So one is Jammu and Kashmir is a border state. Most likely the drugs are coming from the Punjab area, and from Punjab it is coming from Pakistan. So it is coming from there and people are using drugs. And Punjab also 1 in 7 are dependent on harmful, these narcotic and psychotropic substances. Okay. Now the reasons have been stated as overall issues. One is obviously Punjab coming from Punjab and its proximity to the Golden Crescent, right? So India, Golden Crescent, this is the drug belt in the northwest, the Asian region, and the Golden Triangle in the eastern side. So we are in between the two, but that is one issue. The other is they're saying is why people are still consuming drugs. You're supplying it, but why are they using it? So they're saying that people are dissatisfied. There is a demographic dividend, more youthful population, but they are not getting employment. They are unemployed. So they are disillusioned with life. So they are using drugs. Obviously, when you are unemployed, you are into financial difficulties. So this is a way of escapism. Plus political uncertainties. So political uncertainties, militancy. So all that is also making the youth disillusioned, forcing and pushing them towards the issue of drugs. What can be done? The newspaper is simply saying that a healing touch is needed and political processes should be restored. The region needs a healing touch. Right. So these are the points. National Research Foundation and your digital personal data protection. This I'm not doing. Next, we have holes in financial safety net. So this financial safety net that is being referred to is global financial safety net, and we are talking about the macroeconomic stability of a country. So some examples of macroeconomic stability can be the balance of payment crisis, where a country has, let's say, more of a foreign currency coming up. Now they are not able to pay back, or you borrowed more and now you're not able to pay back. So balance of payment crisis. We were on the verge of balance of payment crisis in 1990s, and we were about to declare ourselves bankrupt and take a bailout from IMF. At the moment, it is Sri Lanka. Sometime back, it was the PIGS countries. PIGS is Portuguese, Italy, Greece, and Spain. So even the European countries are suffering. Now, with reference to balance of payment, normally imports are affected because you don't have money to make payments for your imports. So this leads to supply side constraints. Supply is not there, so it pushes inflation. It was seen in Sri Lanka, where most of the things are imported, and the way prices skyrocketed. So that was one good example. Debt trap countries borrowing a lot more with urban, creation of infrastructure, especially from China, and not able to pay back. So debt trap, they're falling into that. That is also one reason. Plus the rising current account deficit, that is also a reason. So all of these are basically part of macroeconomic policies. And to deal with all of this, we have a major institution known as the IMF. The IMF was created in the wake of the World War crisis, the World War II in particular. So one of the reasons for the World War was the macroeconomic instability, the failure of the currency. So it was realized that it is not just we have to reconstruct the world so that developmental economic activities take place, so that the youth is engaged in some other meaningful activity rather than war. And if macroeconomics are not good, all these things are there, then there will inevitably be tension and strife in those countries. So the post-World War order was supposed to, we wanted peace. So IMF was there for macroeconomic issues. The World Bank was there for reconstruction of the world, the developmental long-term capital that is needed. Now here we are only concerned with IMF. Now IMF is seen to be wanting. IMF was the sole guardian of the macroeconomic policies, macroeconomic stability of the world countries. But it's seen to be wanting when there is a crisis. IMF is not inept with it. So there were some regional setups also which came up. Regional financial agreements, or RFA came up. Okay. Now here we have the most important is Chiang Mai Initiative multilateralism. Chiang Mai Initiative multilateralism. This is comprising of ASEAN countries plus 3 other countries. This is important for your prelims. So ASEAN plus 3 other countries. These 3 are China, Japan, and South Korea. I'm writing it. China, Japan, and South Korea. These countries are there. India is not part of CMIM. India is not part of any regional financial arrangement or agreement. Simple. Okay. Then we have North Atlantic financial crisis led to the creation of US Federal Reserve's bilateral swap lines, which was to provide cooperation between central banks of advanced economies. Then in Europe, there is European Financial Stability Facility, and this eventually became European Stability Mechanisms. So we have CMIM, we have bilateral swap lines of the US, and then we have the European Stability Mechanism. So these are other initiatives. India is part of none of these. Okay, fine, you get it. Now, there are certain issues with the IMF, and that is the focus of this article actually. But I have to mention this because obviously these are important for your prelims also. And by the way, we can always talk about contingency reserve agreement, which I told you with reference to BRICS. So that is there, and India is naturally part of this. Okay. Now, what are the issues with the IMF? So IMF, if any country is particularly having a balance of payment crisis, IMF provides funding so that they can meet their ends and eventually they can address their economic situation. So it provides them some capital. But that funding comes with a host of conditions. A lot of conditions are imposed. And these conditions are seen to be favorable to the Western democracies or the advanced economies. And typically it says you have to open your economy, you have to allow for capitalism, you should open for privatization. So there are conditions imposed when IMF is giving money. And that is for World Bank also. So this is obviously not liked by people who are borrowing. So it is like we can say they are trying to arm twist a country's economic policies. And this is seen as one of the arms of neo-imperialism. I'm just extending the topic now. Neo-imperialism. Okay. The conditions seem to be less stringent on advanced economies as compared to emerging economies. For example, the PIGS, Portuguese, Italy, Greece, and South Africa, and Spain, and European countries. So them the conditions they were like more than happy to give them money, but when it comes to emerging economies, the conditions are much more stringent. Then this IMF, where does the money come from? Each country, which is a part of the IMF, are required to make payments in accordance with quota. There is a quota system in the IMF. So based on the size of an economy, size of the economy of a country, they are supposed to make payment finances to the IMF. So each country has a quota based on their economic size. And this quota also decides, because you are giving more money, some countries giving more money, some is giving less money. So the voting power in the IMF is also in commensurate with the quota. Now there is dissatisfaction with the quotas. The advanced economies or the capitalist economies, they have greater say in the IMF affairs because they have more quota, because their economies are bigger. Now this was fine, but in the recent times what has happened is that emerging economies, they have grown in heft. Their economies have grown. For example, India is now seen to be the third largest economy in times to come. It's inevitable. So in light of this, the quota should be revised and the emerging economies should have greater quota. And greater quota would mean greater say in the matters of the IMF. So this is not liked by the developed economies who currently enjoy greater quotas. So 16th review is to take place. That is why this article is there. Okay. Further, there is more representation of advanced economies in the IMF and its functioning. Even the functionaries are more likely to be from advanced economies, and therefore the interest of the advanced economy is furthered by the IMF. So these are some of the concerns. Now, if you reverse these concerns, you will get the suggestions, the way forward from there, right? So this is it. You have some terms you learned: global financial safety net. You learned about this regional arrangements that are there, particularly CM-IM, plus some issues with the functioning of the IMF. This one I have left because it's a political retort to the Prime Minister, right? But yes, there is this term from his speech, the 3 Ds, that is democracy is demography, democracy, and diversity. Demography means people. Democracy means political institutions. Diversity means different groups living together, so diversity. Okay, next is Ethiopia is in news. Ethiopian migrants were trying to enter into Saudi Arabia. Their border guards killed hundreds of these people, migrants, says the rights group. Okay, now obviously we have to know about Ethiopia, right? Especially from Atlas' point of view, because pre-based question may be asked. So that is there. And yes, we should know about what is happening in Ethiopia also. So Ethiopia, basically why people are migrating towards Saudi Arabia, because Ethiopia, the conditions, economic conditions are not good. There is poverty, there is drought, there is political repression. And therefore, they are moving towards Djibouti. Ethiopia is a landlocked country, so they are moving towards Djibouti, and from there is Saudi. And from Saudi, maybe they can move to any other place. Then again, Ethiopia has Muslim population, so maybe that is also one reason. Okay, Ethiopia. I want to show you the map now. So you can see Ethiopia. This is in the Horn of Africa. This is a landlocked country. It is neighboring Djibouti. From Djibouti, the capital is also Djibouti. From there, they can move towards Saudi. Now, if you look closely, there is the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. Right? So these can be asked in your prelims very easily. The capital of Ethiopia is Addis Ababa. Right, so this is it. And yes, some of the early fossils of the human beings have been found over here. And by, I mean to say Homo erectus, Homo habilis, they have been found over here, and even the Homo sapiens actually. Thailand politics. So in Thailand, very briefly, in Thailand, there used to be a democratic government, but the military took over. There was a coup, and a Janta government came up. Military dictatorship is known as Janta. So this came up. They made a constitution. They said that now the democratic processes should be reinstated. But the way the constitution is framed, it is becoming difficult for the people to form the government. So this prominent leader has joined it. Not really interested. It's just that we should know what is happening. That's all. The reason for the Luna 25, I think you know it's with reference to the moon lander, right? So the reason has been mentioned. The engine did not shut off on time. New room is found at Civieta Guilinia Villa. I don't know how it is pronounced. So it tells us about the life of the slaves in ancient Pompeii. We don't have to read this. You can see the image. This was the room that they used to live in. This we are talking about AD 79, the time of Kanishka in India, Kushanas, and particularly Kanishk. Okay. This was in Rome, and there is the Vesuvius volcano that exploded, which burnt everything, right? It erased the civilization from there. Now we come to the economy section. This is concerning the liberalized remittances scheme. So, yes. So let me tell you what is liberalized remittances scheme. Liberalized remittances scheme says that Indians who send their children, let's say, who have their relatives or anybody in foreign country, so they can send money to those people. So that is liberalized remittances scheme. It is a mechanism by which Indians can send money abroad for whatever reason. Typically, it is for education, it is for healthcare. Maybe some elderly is not getting treatment in India, so for some condition, they can go to a more advanced economy. So like that. Right. So that is the LRS. It provides for it. Now the LRS is governed by the Foreign Exchange Management Act by the Reserve Bank of India, and it says up to $250,000 can be given per financial year. We want to restrict how much of money can go abroad. So a limit has been set by this law. Now recently the government said, I hope LRS is clear. Now the government said in the budget that the money that is going out, on that there'll be tax collection at source, which will be 20%. Imagine you send 100 rupees, of this 20 will be pocketed by the government. So 20% and 5% above, so it will be 20%. From previously it used to be 5% if the money transaction is above 7 lakh rupees. So from 5% it has gone to say 20%. Now, obviously, this is yet to come in. So to avoid paying of higher taxes, more money is now going abroad. So remittances have shot up by 3.8 billion in June. So this is it. Now we have the economy, the explained section. This news is there, the crucial last 15 minutes, right? What all is going to happen. I don't feel it is important. You want to read, you read. Okay, last one. Why global clothing retailers are exiting Myanmar? So why I'm covering this, because we have to focus on the textile sector. India has to focus on the textile sector because textile sector is job intensive sector. For that for the amount of investment, we get more amount of jobs. Let's say if we compare with automobile or any other sector. So it is a job intensive plus formal employment, particularly it tends to employ women workforce. So India wants to do that, but more and more of these clothing companies are, having their branches in Bangladesh, Myanmar, Vietnam, etc. One of the reason being that they are part of the RCEP agreement, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. This is not mentioned. I'm just saying it. Okay. Now, why? Now it is saying that the next point is the global retailers like Zara, H&M, and some other companies are moving out of Myanmar. The reason is it has come to light that there is labor abuse case. That is wages not being paid, the working conditions are bad. Now imagine your company is there, it's operating, somebody in USA is wearing it. So, but it's made in Myanmar, and in Myanmar all this is happening: gender-based violence, harassment, killing of the Rohingyas. So it brings bad name. Plus there is democracy is not there. Democracy to Janta government is there in Myanmar, so that is also not good. Further, because of coup, the Janta government is it said that it is being helped by China actually. So the anti-coup people are in Myanmar are targeting the Chinese firms that are operating, Chinese retailers that are operating. So they are being targeted. So they think of moving out of Myanmar. So basically political factors. NVIDIA's GPU hottest items in AI boom. Okay. So this GPU is known as a graphical processing unit, graphic card. And there is one obviously CPU, there is GPU. Now with the advent of the artificial intelligence, obviously artificial intelligence would require more computing, right? More computing is required, fast-paced computing is required so that you get data in real time, whatever you're doing, speech to text, etc. So a lot of data may be processed, big data. So for all that, heavier computing power is required. So we did not have actually something specifically designed for AI. So what these companies started to do was they started using the graphic cards. They said that graphic cards are also for intensive computing, the video games, etc. You get that in real time, that experience. So why not use it for AI related applications? So with the boost of AI, they are actually using the GPUs. NVIDIA card is very famous. In your computers, NVIDIA would be mentioned also. That sticker would be there next to your keyboard. So that is there. So that is the basic reason. Last one, there is this chess competition going on. R. Prangana Nanda has beaten the semi-final. He's into the finals. He'll be playing against the world champion Carlsen at the FIDE World Cup. That's all. And FIDE World Cup is taking place in Baku, which is in Azerbaijan. So Azerbaijan, you should know the location now. So 1 second, Azerbaijan is next to the Caspian Sea. So maybe we can have this. You can see in the map of Asia, first of all, this is Azerbaijan. And Azerbaijan is in news because of a diplomatic interest. Is that because the famous north-south transport corridor will be passing through Azerbaijan. So this is one route and there is another route like this. Right, so that's it's next to it is to the west of the Caspian Sea. And plus the Caucasus Mountains pass through Azerbaijan and it is neighboring your Russian Federation. Here is Baku. So this is it from today's news. Thank you for streaming into our channel IASPrimers with me, Shubhashish.